choice sometimes to do things that are bad for us. But if the league really wants to continue to grow, then these are the kind of steps they need to make, or at least they want to prevent themselves from shrinking. These are the kind of steps they need to make. The biggest problem facing the NFL going forward, presently and going forward, is not protests of the anthem or the owners or whoever's protests against the protests. No, I don't even know if that actually has an effect, in spite of what some people say. Cord cutting, of course, is an issue.
Yes, we know. You keep telling us that.
That's an issue for every single entertainment entity, cord cutting. But for the NFL in particular, it is the physical toll it takes on the players. It is a dangerous, violent sport. And the owners are wise to be out in front of this and not just always reacting to the
Max,
latest
help me out with something. Help me out with something here. And I'll go back to you. It's more of a question than a debate here, okay? I get your point, and I don't necessarily disagree with you about the importance of the safety of the game and how they need to prioritize this, because this is a bigger issue than the protest, the anthem, and all of that other stuff. Fine, I understand that. But I would approve of it more, Max, if they took into account intent. Like if you saw a player, there's a difference. You saw what Jack Tatum back in the 80s, I think it was in the 80s or 70s, what he did to Sterling. Okay, you saw what he did to Darryl Stingley. I'm sorry. You saw what Jack Tatum did to him. You saw what Vontaze Burfict and the hit was on Antonio Brown. You've seen things of that ilk. I'm saying there's a way, in my opinion, to measure something that's intentional and premeditated, as opposed to something that just happened because in the heat of action, in the speed of the moment, it may have been virtually impossible for you to pull back. I think if they said they were taking that into consideration and they were going to leave that to the discretion of the officials, I would approve of that more so than a hard and fast rule. If you hit somebody with your helmet, boom, it's an automatic penalty.
Well, I'll say this, Stephen A. I pretty much agree with that sentiment. But let me make the counter argument, which I think is also a good one. You know, sometimes a running back has a problem fumbling the ball. In New York, we remember Tiki Barber, right? And they tend to fumble the ball a lot. And sometimes you see them, and they're holding the ball correctly, and the defensive player just makes a play on the ball, punches it out. The coach still sits the running back, and you're thinking, wait a minute. What else could he have done humanly to protect that ball? But the coach's point is, I don't want it. The old expression is, don't tell me about the pain, show me the baby. They don't care. They don't care why you dropped the ball. The point is, you can't drop the ball. And if a coach takes that approach, it's almost like the kind of approach they take in the military, where your reach, should outstrip your grasp, right? What's the expression? The reach is farther than the grasp. Now I can't remember. But anyway, the point is, you know the expression. The point is that when you make standards, even if they seem unrealistic, but the point is, no, we're just going to look at those results. Those results better be in line with what we want, or there's going to be a problem. Somehow, there tends to be less of a problem. So in applying an unfair standard or a seemingly unfair standard, even in instances where it seemed unavoidable, if there's penalty for doing it, you tend to achieve a greater result than if there isn't. And I think that's the best argument that could be made. And while I see the wisdom in what you're saying, I also see the wisdom in that point. Even though it'll be unfair to individuals at times, in the bigger picture, it will prevent injury.
You're talking about a deterrent, and I understand and respect that. But the reason why a deterrent is so important to the league is because it's costing them money potentially, because of lawsuits that have been filed against them in the past, because you got retired players and some of the injuries they've incurred and what have you. We get all of that, okay? We understand it, and obviously the issue of CTE has been put to the forefront, and the NFL has had no choice but to deal with that because of what some folks may have hid in the past. But the flip side to it is that, to a lesser degree, look at the catch rule and look at how it's been modified, because games have been lost and dollars have been compromised because of bogus decisions that have come on the part of officials who were force-fed the ability to make those decisions by the league office. These are the kind of things where you can't wait. You can't always wait to see how things fall out or frame out before you make modifications. There is absolutely positively nothing wrong with the league empowering the officials to take into account intent and whether or not one could help themselves at that particular moment because of the position they found themselves in. There is nothing wrong with starting off from Jump Street with the notion that we're going to leave it up to the officials to measure your intent. And it gives the officials with a lot of discretion, but maybe we need to get back to that to some degree personally.
Yeah, well,
as opposed to the league office with their hard and fast rules.
Yep, if you're talking about being fair to everyone involved, you're right. If you're talking about, by the way, it's reach, exceed your grasp, which apparently mine did, trying to use the expression right there. But if you're talking about just achieving optimal results in terms of safety, then a uniform application of the rule. Sorry, guys, I know it was unavoidable. Helmet, lead, done, penalty. Somehow, Stephen A., as you know, I'm surprised at you in this situation because you're very much a rules stickler, right? Sorry, guys, right. Whatever those are the rules. And the reason you implement it is because it achieves better results that way. So the question is, are you most interested in fairness to the players, or is the bigger picture here safety, period, which in a larger way is more fair to the players?
I'm saying that I don't think you have to make a choice. I think you can do both. You can be fair and you can prioritize safety. And yes, I am a rule stickler. But you got to remember, Max, these are rules that they're changing. So it's still up for discussion. Once the rule is in place and the season begins, then I'm going to hold you accountable to try to follow the rules to the best of your ability. But what we're discussing right now is the actual implementation of the rule to begin with. Its existence. That's what we're challenging here.
Yep.
Sure.
For perspective, guys, there were 291 concussions in 2017. That's the most ever recorded in a single season, and that means nearly 1 out of every 2 helmet-to-helmet hits caused a concussion this past season, so obviously serious stuff there. But back to the association. James Harden will likely be a runaway winner of this year's MVP, but LeBron James says he should not win the award. Wait till you hear the Kings pick. And joining us next is the NFL draft wizard. We'll chop it up with Mel Kiper about Saquon Barkley and if he has any shot of leapfrogging the top quarterback prospects as the #1 pick. That and so much more with our guy. Hi, Mel.